There he is, my future son-in-law. And how's he doing today? What brings him to the Potsdam household? Huh? Oh, you'll have to ask the missus about that. Stephanie's grounded to the wedding. Can't have her changing her mind at the last minute. Not with all that meat at stake. Meat is the foundation of any decent society. Everyone needs at least 3 servings of red meat a day. And anyone who says otherwise is a commie. And once you're married to Stephanie, I'll be part of the family too. And your father will give me all the meat I want. Trying to make up for not getting into the lodge. Well, don't look at me. Mrs. Potsdam wants Stephanie to study hard for her finals. If it was up to me, you could go straight upstairs, but you know, the little woman, you'll have to ask her permission to see Stephanie. Sorry, Steve. The last thing I want to do is upset you and your father before the wedding. Not with the meat at stake. You will remind your dad about the meat, won't you?
I haven't seen my father. He's locked in a room.
He's not going to die, is he?
Like I said, I don't know. That woman, Mom, tends to him herself.
Well, next time you see him, be sure to tell him that I said hello. And tell him that I'm praying for his speedy recovery. Also, do remind him about the meat. Especially about the meat.
Yeah, fine. If I see him.
You should be more concerned. If he dies, then who's going to take over the slaughterhouse? Who's going to tend to the meat? I guess you take over. Right? If it isn't my favorite son-in-law, what brings you here again? I can't imagine a better job than working in a slaughterhouse. Bite your tongue with that serpent's tooth. Your dad's slaughterhouse is the most successful business in Harvest. You'll love it there. Oh, sure. Cutting animals open may not be much fun. Reaching into their bodies and yanking out the bloody guts, intestines dangling and slapping against you, the smell of death and shit in your nostrils all the time. Well, those are all definite cons, of which you're done. The guts have been washed into the gutters. What are you left with? Meat. Rows and rows of scrumptious red meat. I can't imagine it. Sure, it'd be just dandy. Oh, sure. Cutting animals open may not be much fun. Reaching into their bodies and yanking out the bloody guts, intestines dangling and slapping against you, the smell of death and shit in your nostrils all the time. Well, those are all definite cons, of which you're done. The guts have been washed into the gutters. What are you left with? Meat. Rows and rows of scrumptious red meat. I can't imagine a better job than working in a slaughterhouse. Sure, it'd be just dandy, and you can't argue with success. Everyone in Harvest gets their meat from your dad. What a grand business to go into. Oh, meat.
Hello, Steve. Have you flossed today? Well, Stephanie is grounded, Steve.
Why?
I'm sure I don't know. Mr. Potson has sent her to her room, and in her room she'll stay until Mr. Potson says otherwise. Probably until the wedding.
Tell me about this wedding.
Well, it's set for 3 weeks. We're holding it over at Shady Oaks, Mr. Moynihan's funeral parlor.
Say what?
Now, I know it's not a very romantic place, but there's nowhere else to hold it, thanks to Mr. Potson. You mustn't be too hard on Mr. Potson, Steve. He's a disappointed man. No matter how many lodge admission forms he fills out, they keep turning him down. He has a new application in, though, so keep your fingers crossed. If he joins the lodge, you and Stephanie can have your wedding in the Chapel of Love, rather than over at Moynihan's place.
What can you tell me about the lodge?
Just that they're exclusive and secretive. If you're curious, you want to pick up a lodge application at the post office and take it over to the sergeant-at-arms. Isn't that a thought? Forget Mr. Hodgson. If you became a member of the order, you could hold the wedding inside the lodge. My, wouldn't that be lovely? Mr. Moynihan runs the Wayward Hotel and the Shady Oaks Funeral Parlor. It's rumored he has connections with the lodge, but the order keeps that kind of thing secret. So Mr. Potson has tried to get him to put in a good word for his lodge application, but so far... Sorry, I didn't catch that. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Mr. Potson feels there's too much at stake to allow Stephanie to run around loose.
She doesn't want to get married either, huh?
Are you saying you don't want to marry my daughter?
I don't know your daughter, Mrs. Potsdam. Why is she grounded? Afraid she'll run away before the wedding?
No! She's as delighted as we are about the wedding, every bit as delighted as we are. But she might get hit by a car, or a falling piano, or who knows what. Mr. Potson wants us all to be one happy family, and he doesn't want to risk anything happening at the last minute. I don't see any reason why not.
This charity bake sale. What is it supposed to benefit?
Oh, I just like talking about juicy subjects. When you get right down to it, all charity is pretty ugly, isn't it?
I don't follow.
Ask Mr. Moynihan. He's organized this event, in conjunction with the lodge, naturally. Give my regards to your parents.
What are you doing in my room?
Haven't you heard? We're getting married.
So, you're the one. Steve, isn't it?
You mean you don't know me?
I mean, I don't know anyone. I don't remember anything. How many times do I have to say it?
Just one, Stephanie, because I can't remember a damn thing either.
Really? Oh God, I thought it was just me.
You're not alone. Can you tell me what's going on here?
Those people downstairs have locked me in my room. They say I'm grounded until the wedding. They claim to be my parents. I can't dispute it because I can't remember for sure one way or the other, but it doesn't feel right. I believe you. Maybe some of these people believe you too. Maybe they're playing dumb.
Why?
Maybe they're responsible. Either way, something really weird is going on here. I've got to escape, and so do you. Because in a way, whether you know it or not, I think we're both grounded.
Escape?
Harvest is a prison, Steve. Don't forget that. Of course I'm right. Everything in Harvest seems to revolve around this damned lodge, this Order of the Harvest Moon. They're responsible for this insane bake sale that's coming, and for the Harvest Blood Drive, too. When people talk about the lodge, it's always in this hushed, reverent tone. Mom keeps telling me that women can't join, but she keeps pressuring me to get you to join.
She's not the only one who wants me to sign on with the lodge.
That's probably the worst thing you could do.
You think the lodge is some kind of trap?
I think all of Harvest is a trap.
If that's true, maybe joining the lodge is the way out.
Look, why not explore the town a little? I can't get out of here, but if I could, that's what I'd do. Maybe you can figure out what's happening here without going anywhere near the lodge.
You're really afraid of the lodge, aren't you?
I look at that building, all lit up at night, and I get scared. I mean, look at the damn thing. Seem like a harmless bunch of Masons to you? Maybe my amnesia isn't total after all. You're familiar to me. Like we've met before. In another life.
Maybe we really do live here. Maybe we were together, and the same thing happened to both of us. An accident. Something.
Neither of us has bumps on our heads, if that's what you're getting at.
Have you been able to remember anything else? Anything at all?
Well, I have had these recurring dreams. Just fragments, really. Strange, abstract images. Liquid, chrome.
Probably just a dream.
Well, have you thought about how to escape Harvest? The wedding is only 3 weeks away. Not much time to get to know each other, is it? Thanks. But I wouldn't marry anyone with things, you know, as they are.
Yeah, well, they can't force us to go through with it. If it comes down to it, we just won't take the vows.
I don't think anything in Harvest is that simple. Too many people are determined that we get hitched.
Why?
Potsdam wants the meat your father promised him. Your parents want to force you to settle down. Mrs. Potsdam wants to have the wedding in the lodge. Me? I just want to escape. You're not making sense. It's been hell. They treat me well, but they won't let me leave this room. Not even to go out in the yard. Not until the wedding.
They won't tell you why?
Each one blames the other for grounding me. They make up different excuses. Different things I did. None of which I remember. So I sit up here. Watch the world outside my window. And listen to the noises in the house. Every morning, a weird boy comes to the house and picks up the paper. He doesn't deliver the paper. He picks up scrap paper that Miss Potsdam sets out on the porch for him. Some mornings she forgets, and the boy gets furious. He gives me the creeps.
Anything else you can tell me?
I hear these weird scraping sounds in the bathroom sometimes. Like something is sliding along the wall. Claws, maybe. And Mr. Potsdam. I don't like the way my dear daddy looks at me. Both of them are always watching me. But especially him.
You don't think they're dangerous, do you?
I think this whole place is dangerous. I think we've got to escape before it's too late. Come back and visit me soon, okay?
It's not often that I get visitors.
Are you the wasp woman?
I am Tetsuo Crumb. The ignorant of harvest call me the wasp woman. A pejorative, no doubt. Born of fear and a poverty of imagination.
I don't understand.
The politics of honey, the Judeo-Christian rites of sacrifice and conventional taboos against unbridled pleasure are all responsible for the prejudice against wasps. Yes, a great deal of pleasure. The wasp is a sensual being, not a laborer, hedonistic instead of industrial. Some think them quick to anger. In truth, they are easily swayed to ecstasy. They penetrate your flesh and the muscular contractions in their thorax as they pump venom could be likened to the muscular contractions of ejaculation, each painful welt an act of love. When a bee stings, it rips itself apart and dies for its audacity. This appeals to those raised worshipping a god that demands sacrifice and atonement. But the wasp is promiscuous. They are not as sympathetic to the masses because they don't die when they sting. They live to sting another day, and they take pleasure from it. Yes, a great deal of pleasure. The wasp is a sensual being, not a each. Regard the wasp. Wasps produce nothing for others, but only for themselves. Wasps build nests and more wasps, nothing more. They spread into eaves and attics, not to make honey for supermarkets, but to buzz and rustle on their own paper, perpetuating their own agenda, growing stealthily, surely, the most relentless of insects. Innocent children, what better way to describe the wasp? Carefree, wild, beautiful things. If they wish to share their love with babies, or any of the rest of you ignorant hicks, that is not my concern. A triviality. The politics of honey are intertwined with the age-old struggle of the aesthetic versus the commercial. Because I choose to raise wasps instead of bees, I'm frowned upon by the community. Why? Well, raising bees is acceptable because they produce honey. But sometimes it's not what is produced, so much as what is performed.
I don't see any particular use for wasps.
Why must everything have a use? Is money always the determining factor? More slender, more aerodynamic than the bee, the wasp is a joy to behold. Beautiful and juicy. Isn't that enough to compensate for the little drawbacks? Well, as you can see, the little darlings do love to sting. Another source of prejudice for the masses, and another reason to love them. Bees are like animals. They sting only for a reason, for sacrifice. They have no conception of individual sensation, of pleasure.
Please excuse the mess. They've done wonders with the upstairs bedroom, but this garage defies color coordination.
Don't bother me, I'm sketching. Oh, look what you made me do!
I don't converse on the job, Steve.
Hello, Steve. Welcome to the House of Flame, as we like to call it. Oh, cut it out, Spots, honestly. Once he gets barking, a good piece of meat is the only way to shut him up. There you go, Spot. So, Steve, bet you don't remember me. Heard about that short in the old wiring. I'm Fire Marshal Sparky, head of your fire department. Don't be silly. Everyone thinks that amnesia kick is a scream. Well, you always were a kidder, Steve. Besides, it's my job to keep abreast of developments in the community to better serve you, the public. I'm sure you'll be thrilled when you learn of the many civic improvements we have planned for your fire department.
Such as?
Well, don't tell any of the others, but I've secured a bolt of the most divine mauve material. I've hidden it because, well, if any of these Marys got a hold of it, it'd be gone in a jiffy. So I'd rather keep it hush-hush. I'm going to make new drapes for the firehouse, and if I have any left, cross your fingers, I'm going to make everyone matching mauve pillow cozies.
Those are civic improvements.
Don't be such a party pooper, Steve. We're talking about our community. Besides, we haven't had a fire in Harvard since the newspaper building burned down. Though I'll admit that the Wasp Woman's place is one big accident waiting to happen. Isn't that right, Spot? Spots is a dandy watchdog, but like the rest of us, he has one awful vice. None of us can resist a nice cut of meat. Some people think all we do is sit around, sketching fetching examples of manhood for our own amusement. Nothing could be further from the truth. Why, just the other day we cited Ted to a crumb for fire code violations. All those dried-out paper wasp nests clustered around our wooden house. Why, it's a chem log just waiting for the right faggot. Believe me, none of us wants to see another fiasco like the Sentinel fire. A dreadful affair. You wouldn't think that a brick and steel building with a sprinkler system could go up that quickly. Oh, please. Dwayne was glad enough to see the thing go up, and so was McKnight. If you could get into that safe in his wall... Forget it. Look, Steve, as far as I know, the fire was an accident. Let's just leave it at that. Now don't you go moving. Come again? Bye-bye. Now, Steve, I'm inspired. Bye-bye.
Stop it! You're messing me up!
I don't converse on the job, Steve.
Sorry, Steve. After I'm through here, I've got cleaning to do. Rush, rush.
That's the evidence room, where we store items lifted from crime scenes. It's kept locked at all times. There's things in there that could make people jump through hoops, if I wanted. Hello, Steve. Let me introduce myself. I'm Sheriff Dwayne, and this here's Loomis.
Pleasure, I reckon.
Then, we haven't met before?
Of course we have, but I heard about your alleged amnesia and figured I'd play along. I sure hope this is just a prank, and not the start of some insanity plea. Keep your nose clean, or you'll wind up in jail, and that's no place to hold a wedding. Amnesia or no, you can't have forgotten you're about to marry the prettiest little thing at Harvest. I think you and Stephanie are perfect for each other. I just hope her father's disappointment doesn't spoil everything.
Disappointment?
Mr. Potsdam wants to hold the wedding in the lodge, but he'll never get in. Like all the rest, he's always hanging around the post office the first day of the month, waiting for Boyle to bring out that month's lodge applications. And there's always a long line, never enough applications to go around, and even if you do get an application, chances are you're right out of luck. Fewer called to the order and even less accepted. And Potsdam, well, they've turned him down so many times, unless he does something radical, he'll never get in. Crime-wise, nothing much has happened in Harvest since the newspaper fire. Oh, sure, every week or so we get the odd transient dropping dead, but other than that, it gets pretty slow around here. Sure, you remember. The Sentinel building burned down about 6 months ago.
That's what I'm telling you, Sheriff. I don't remember anything. Why won't you believe I have amnesia?
Well, you've always been a kidder, Steve. Anyway, the fireman said the fire was caused by arson. I never caught the perp, though.
But we found the gas can that was used. Yes, sirree, Bob. It's in the evidence room.
Loomis, that's classified. Darn it.
How many times you gonna have to tell me to keep my mouth shut, I wonder? Sorry, boss.
You've got the gas can in the evidence room? Did you dust it for prints?
You've been watching too much TV, Steve. Heck, who can make out all those curvy lines anyhow? No, it's sitting in there gathering dust, clean as the day we found it. Just in case I ever need a spare gas can. That case is closed, Steve. Why do you want to break your poor mama's heart with all this amnesia bunk?
I'm telling you the truth. Why won't anyone believe me?
Well, you've always been a kidder, Steve.
Yeah, so everybody keeps telling me.
Boy, you need to stop all this funning and get serious. You've got a wedding coming up soon. Heck, you should be thinking about your career and about joining the lodge. I don't mind telling you, I'd never get anything done if not for the lodge's efforts. To join the Order of the Harvest Moon is the highest dream of everyone in Harvest. Like I said, unless you get an application on the first day of the month, you're generally out of luck. Stop by the post office and talk to Postmaster Boyle. You never know. He might have a spare application laying around. Now, that's a place you don't want to wind up, boy. We've got a 3 strikes and you're out rule here in Harvest. You get arrested the 3rd time, you never get out of jail alive. So don't go committing any crimes, boy. Amnesia or no, I'll lock you up pronto. We get a lot of bums, drifters passing through Harvest. Those people are never very healthy to start with. I figure they come to our fair town, look around and decide it's a nice place to die.
You mean they drop dead here on a regular basis?
Like flies. I'd slap them all in jail if I could, but there's never enough room. Besides, they're pretty good about not sticking around long. Sure, it's a burden on Mr. Barnahan, though, having to bury them all. I only hope the PTA Lodge bake sale will help out along those lines. Oh, I forgot. You've got amnesia. Mr. Barnahan operates both the Wayward Hotel and the mortuary. Kind of a double burden for the poor man. Transients always wandering in and looking for a place to crash, then croaking.
Maybe it's not a coincidence.
You mean a crime? Oh no. Moynihan's charity only extends so far. He won't check them in, but he'll sure check them out quick enough. He figures if they can't pay for the room, to hell with them. But if they can't pay for the burial, it's hell for us. What with the smell and all. I guess you can't say too much against Moynihan. What with him letting you hold the wedding in his mortuary chapel and all. Stop on by any time, Steve.
Anything I can help you with? Help yourself. Speaking of which, you're real lucky to be marrying Stephanie. She don't look like a good woman. I just hope she don't turn out like Mrs. Loomis, or mercy forbid Mrs. Phelps. Good women can be awful hard on a man's needs, don't you know? Mrs. Phelps down at the general store don't help things none. She's got them special picture books, the one with the lady, but she won't sell me none on account of she knows my wife, Mrs. Loomis. That don't burn my britches. If I even ask about them, she tells Mrs. Loomis and I get the broom. Enough to break a man's heart. Her burning my French postcards and me unable to replace them. A man's got needs, don't you know? Why, you sure ought to appreciate what a man's got to do sometimes in a parked car, or a waist-high knothole in a tree, or jail cell at noon. Matter of fact, Mrs. Phelps got no reason not to sell you some of them French postcard girly picture books. If you can get any, it's see clear to part with them. Bring them round when the sheriff's at lunch, and I'd be obliged. Of course, I don't necessarily mean French postcards. That's just what we called them in my day. Any kind of girly picture book, the kind men like, would be just dandy. I'd be right grateful, kiddo, if you were to bring me one. Oh, gosh, I wish I had some of them girly pictures, but Mrs. Loomis won't let me keep 'em in the house. I still remember the time she caught me holding some of them pictures up with one hand. She took the broom to me. I howled like a hound dog, the broom going up and down, flashing straw and blood, blood and straw, and I drooped. I was crying so bad, and it was so hard I had to crawl under the porch naked with all the black winter spiders, and I got bit something fierce, little fangs digging into my bare behind all over. I ask you, is that any way to treat a man? And Mrs. Phelps and the sheriff don't make it no easier neither. If Sheriff Dwayne had a little kindness, he let me get around the little lady by letting me keep some of them picture books here, even if Mrs. Phelps had let me buy one. But see, he won't let me keep none here neither. He don't like me getting the jail mattress all marked up, don't you know? Sometimes a man can be good with a gun or a knife, but even so, one-handed and all, he can get a little off when his aim ain't no shame in it. That's why the good Lord made evaporation and such. But the sheriff, he don't like it, and don't pay no mind to a man's needs no more than Mrs. Loomis, bless her. Why, you sure ought to appreciate what a man's got to do sometimes in a parked car. Don't know what you mean, kiddo. Don't know what you mean, kiddo. Don't know what you mean, kiddo. Anytime, kiddo.